Following last weekend's Miami Grand Prix, the Scuderia did not hesitate to ramp up their preparation for their first home race that takes place in Imola next weekend. The two-day test session saw the team work in Fiorano with 4 drivers. Race drivers Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and reserve development drivers Oliver Bearman and Arthur Leclerc. The first day saw the 2 development drivers get behind the wheel of the 2022 F1 Ferrari car, the SF-25, while Carlos Sainz completed a test run with the current machinery that was equipped with FIA's newest version of spray guard. The second day saw the 2 reserve drivers continue their work behind the wheel of the 2-year-old SF-75. By contrast, Carlos Sainz was joined by his teammate Charles Leclerc, with the pair completing a filming day. However, the pair did not continue the experiments with FIA's spray guard, but was eager to rack up mileage with a heavily upgraded car that is set to make its debut next weekend. Scuderia Ferrari therefore completed an important testing session with the 2.0 version of the SF-24 single-seater. The Italian side did it with Charles Leclerc at its home racing track in Fiorano, with the clear goal of gathering initial insights into the aerodynamic package that will be introduced in the next round of the 2024 Formula One Championship, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at the Imola circuit next week. These insights will be valuable in building important know-how about the new upgrade package, which, in the week leading up to the Imola Grand Prix, will be processed by computational fluid dynamics tools within the Ferrari sporting management. Through simulation, the setup for the 7th round of the 2024 Formula One season will be constructed, an advantage that the prancing horse intends to exploit to the fullest from now on. Validating an upgrade is never simple for a Formula One team. On the contrary, once on the track, the package often doesn't work perfectly, as it needs to be fine-tuned through technicians and drivers' setups to move from a subjective to an objective opinion. This work was done in the first part of Friday with Charles Leclerc, who will later give way to his Spanish teammate Carlos Sainz. Italian aerodynamicist and Ferrari technical director Enrico Cardile has led the Maranello team in producing this new aerodynamic package, a measure intended to enhance the speed qualities of the Ferrari SF-24 car and to reduce the gap to Red Bull as the season progresses. To quantify the gain in terms of lap time, we should wait for the qualifying session of the upcoming race weekend, where, on the banks of the Santerno River, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc will fully demonstrate the potential of the red machine. In the meantime, we can examine the proposed solutions on a technical level, trying to understand the characteristics that Ferrari's aerodynamicists have aimed to impart with the SF-24 single-seater. The foundation of the Maranello team's car was very good, stable, but clearly not at the level of Red Bull, especially in the hands of Max Verstappen. Therefore, the goal is precisely this: to close the gap on the Austrian cars, to therefore be able to compete with the Milton Keynes team every Sunday, regardless of the track conditions or track characteristics. The first novelty that we can observe, thanks to the shots taken by our various news media outlets directly on the track, concerns the new configuration related to the sidepod inlets. Observing these images carefully, it is evident how the Ferrari team has done a great job to bring to the track, as soon as possible, a solution that echoed the Red Bull idea born from the brilliant mind of Adrian Newey, who once again in Formula One has raised the bar with the RB20 project. Without a doubt, the reaction capacity of the team led by Frederic Vasseur deserves applause, a team that is now more dynamic and aggressive without the atavistic fear of making mistakes. Ferrari started the new ground effect era in the 2022 Formula One Championship with a unique in-wash bathtub design, which has evolved since. Last year's Spanish Grand Prix saw Ferrari ditch their design path to introduce a more Red Bull-like downwash concept. The Scuderia has tweaked the bodywork concept several times since last year's Barcelona race, and came up with a distinctive underbite concept for the start of the current Formula One season. Inverting the so-called tray, the upper lip of the Ferrari SF-24 now extends upward. The reason is well known. We have discussed it many times. To effectively increase the famous undercut by gaining several cubic centimeters. We are talking about an area that, within the current regulatory framework, is crucial for the performance of today's Formula One cars, where every small extra bit of space available lends a big hand to the overall cause. With this modification, the engineers in Maranello have significantly adjusted the pressure field in this area of the car. Generating greater pressure is crucial for creating the so-called outwash effect, and consequently, cleaning up the turbulence wake created by the rolling of the front tire as effectively as possible. Outwash takes shape through the production of pressure gradient towards the outside of the car. It's a factor that enhances efficiency and at the same time also increases the effectiveness of the floor. Limiting the entry of lateral flows is indeed one of the most important aspects. Therefore, we expect modifications to the floor itself, which has remained unchanged so far during Friday's test day at the Fiorano circuit, in order to adapt to the new solution. Within this scenario, we also cannot exclude the presence of further updates in the Ferrari's diffuser area. Observing the Sidepods, there don't seem to be any significant changes in their shape, although a slight slimming down appears to be present and will be further analyzed during the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix weekend. On the other hand, several competitors have recently modified precisely this area of the car. Another secondary but nevertheless effective update is evident in the cockpit area, where two conspicuous vertical appendages have appeared, which we could define as vortex generators. Observing the impact of this device, we can assume that its primary objective is the further increase of outwash in the upper zone. The vortex generated by the appendage directs the fluid outward, considering its very high energy level. Ferrari also modifies the attachment of the mirrors to the upper surface of the Sidepods. The structure supporting the mirrors has been lengthened, as it has aerodynamic significance and contributes to managing the flow above the Sidepods. Finally, an opening has appeared in the area of the cannons to dissipate a greater amount of heat. There's also a small modification regarding the rear wing, which remains unchanged in its overall shape. The same specification has been adjusted on the exit edge of the second flap. Scuderia Ferrari has intervened on the so-called wingtips, which now have a more pointed and rounded shape. This upgrade increases downforce by a few points without losing in terms of efficiency. It's a choice inspired by Mercedes, which often makes comparisons between various specifications. In fact, the red car needs a bit more rear downforce to smooth out a slight oversteer, but at the same time, they must maintain good levels of a very important factor, namely the end of straight speeds. With Ferrari retaining the very slim upper V-shaped air intake, it is fair to assume that the Scuderia's power unit has fairly little cooling requirements. The revised Ferrari SF-24 sports a more aggressively designed rear wing, albeit it is more likely that the Italian outfit will use it at tracks that require medium downforce configuration. The new version of rear wing continues to feature the aggressively designed separation of the tip section from the end plate. With one victory under its belt this year, through Carlos Sainz at the Albert Park circuit in Australia, Ferrari is looking to make further inroads on Red Bull with its latest upgrades, which hit the track at the private test from Fiorano on Friday. Ferrari has not won at Imola since it made its return to the F1 calendar in 2020. As it seeks to offer a challenge towards the front of the field, Fred Vasseur highlighted the Maranello-based outfit's upgrade plan did not coincide with a return to its home event.